Hello, CASK family. Welcome back to The Roar, your one-stop shop for updates on research-related information and other happenings in the CASK community. Today's Roar is big. It's one we've dreamed about for a while, and I suspect it's one of those that we're going to look back on one day and say, you know, that was actually a turning point for therapeutic development for CASK disorders. Earlier this week, we shared that Project CASK is awarding our first grant to support the early phase of translational research toward developing a gene replacement therapy for CASK. This 2-year grant is being awarded to Dr. Mingshan Xue at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. So in today's episode, I wanted to talk about two things. First, just kind of provide a general overview of what gene replacement therapy even is, what it entails, with a big disclaimer that I am not a scientist. And second, I want to share more about what specifically Project CASK is supporting with this grant. So first, what is gene replacement therapy? Gene therapy in general aims to correct the underlying issue that's causing the disorder. And there are, as you've probably seen, many different types of gene therapy. Gene replacement specifically involves introducing a healthy copy of the gene into the person's cells to work in place of the malfunctioning gene. So some techniques aim to fix like specific parts of the DNA, where this is inserting, in our case, a complete CASK gene into the cells. And this approach holds a lot of promise for a variety of genetic conditions, but particularly those where it's a single gene that is responsible for the disease, like with CASK. And the healthy copy of the gene is, and this is the gene, I'm going to keep doing this, is delivered using what is called a vector. And this is often a modified virus, which carries the gene into the target cells. And there are different types of vectors. Some are viral, some are non-viral. And there are also different ways to assemble all of the different components necessary to get the CASK gene into the right cells and enough of it for them to be effective. So sometimes you'll see one disorder having 2 clinical trials for gene replacement therapy, and that's because those components or how they are delivered are different. So then once inside the cells, the new gene can produce the CASK protein to restore normal cellular function. That's the goal. What we are seeing with similar neurological disorders in clinical trials is that a cure could eliminate or minimize seizures, improve movement disorders, help children stand and walk, improve memory and cognition, and possibly communication as well. We don't know what a cure will look like for CASK for this or any therapy until we go through this process of testing it. So these are some of the things that we are seeing in other disorders in clinical trials, but we aren't yet there in our journey. And of course, these are some of the things we do hope to see, but we just aren't quite there yet. It is also important to be transparent that there are challenges with gene replacement therapy. I think what I described just sounds so easy, but of course there's quite a few important issues that need to be addressed, and some are how to make sure the gene reaches the right cells, it targets the right cells, it achieves long-term expression, and also that it doesn't cause an immune response in the body or other kind of adverse effect. So this is one of the reasons that these studies take time, and there's a lot of experimentation with the design of the therapy and then testing it enough to be sure that it'll be safe and effective to the extent possible. So because it is introducing a copy of the CASK gene, there it is again, it is a therapy that is applicable to any type of mutation in theory, as well as both males and females. It's also a therapy that does have FDA-approved treatments. So, for example, you may have heard of Zolgensma, which is for spinal muscular atrophy. And there are a lot of gene replacement clinical trials underway. Some of the ones that we've shared with you in the past are the Taysha and Neurogene trials for Rett syndrome, both of which are gene replacement. So I hope that was a good overview. Now let's move to the grant. As you can imagine, developing this approach has many steps. It takes multiple years. It takes millions of dollars. So this funding from Project CASK of $375,000 over 2 years is supporting a few important aspects of this early phase of Dr. Xue's work. So the first is the development and characterization of at least one neurobehavior model. So it doesn't help to create a gene therapy, all those components like the vector, if you don't have a good model to test it on, one that you know that if you see changes, they are as close to as possible as mimicking the changes we would hope to see in our children. And as we have said it in the past, not all mouse models are the same. They're not all good. So this is a really important step because it will help us test the effect and effectiveness of the gene therapy on cognition and intellectual disability, which are common characteristics of CASK gene disorders. And as far as we know, a CASK neurobehavior model has not been developed previously. And then the second area this grant award is supporting is the optimization of the gene therapy approach. So that's all the things I was talking about earlier, and initial testing on epilepsy phenotype models that then hopefully, as it moves on, will really support full-scale testing. So yes, we are early in the phase of this journey, but it reminds me of one of my very favorite quotes that says, "The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred." So we are taking that first step to let providence move too. I hope this was helpful. As always, you can reach out to anyone on the Project CASK leadership team with questions or email us at hello@projectcask.org. And if you're interested in helping us move this study forward, we are continuing to fundraise for it. And this month of August is our community-wide fundraiser, Make a Splash for CASK. It's as simple as setting up a personalized page and making a call to action to your networks through social media. So we'd love to have you join the Splash for CASK movement. And until next time, keep kicking CASK.